Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you just a quick video here on how to properly gap your spark plugs. So let's go ahead and get started. Now it's very important that you know the proper gapping for your vehicle. And to do so, you can find that inside your car's owner's manual when you purchase a car. If you can't find it in there, then you want to reach out to the dealership where you got it, and the dealer should be able to give you that information. But it's very important that you get the specific gapping for your vehicle in order for it to function to peak performance. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take a look. I have two kind of spark plugs here. We have the multi-ground type of spark plugs. We're going to take a look at those, and then we have the regular, kind of the more traditional type. And we're going to talk about both of them, and then we're going to show you the different gapping tools that you can use, and then show you how to do that. And then hopefully this will help you out with properly gapping your spark plug so you get the best performance out of your vehicle. All right, so these are the items that we're going to be looking at in this video. We have two different kinds of gapping tools, and then I have two different types of spark plugs that I want to talk about a little bit as well. So the first gapping tool that we have here is what's known as a wire gapping tool, and you can see why it's called that. It has these preset wire rings with the actual spaces called out next to them. And then on the ends here, these little black tabs, that's kind of your adjusting tool that you can use to adjust the side or the ground electrode, as it's also known as, to the right spacing. The next one here is a coin type of gapping tool, and you can see it kind of looks like a coin, but if you tilt it to the side, you'll see it kind of has a reduced thickness going around it. And then you have, with this one also, you have the sizes called out, but this one's a little more of a gradual adjustment. And then in the middle here, you have a little opening there that you can use, and we'll show you in a minute. You can use that to also spread out the gap on the ground electrode. Now for spark plugs, I have two of them. I have one here. This is more of your traditional type of spark plug that is most common. And before I get comments, these spark plugs have been used. I'm just using them for the sake of this video. They are not new spark plugs, as you can tell. But basically, you have in the middle, you have your central electrode, and then here is your ground electrode, or also what's known as a side electrode. Now, the gap is the space between those two electrodes, and basically, the gapping on there basically defines that distance between those two. And it's critical that that is specific to your actual vehicle so that the electrical arcing can occur at the right voltage needed for your vehicle for the air-fuel mixture to ignite that, so that way for your internal combustion chamber, so the car can function properly and at the way it needs to without any misfiring or any kind of hindrances. Now the other kind of spark plug, which is not as common, is what's known as a multi-ground spark plug. As you can see there, it has, this particular one here has four ground electrodes and then your central in the middle. Sometimes these can have two or three as well, but this one here is four. So we're going to talk about all of these in this video. Now it's important that you get the gapping just right, and each vehicle, as we already mentioned, has specific gapping for it, and that can be found in your actual vehicle's manual. But it's very important because if the gapping is too small, then basically what happens is that the spark does not have the right distance in order for it to fire and heat up properly, which can result in misfires or even the stalling out engine not even turning on at that point, because a lot of times what will happen is that these will get wet because it's unburned fuel that's on these, and pretty much at that point they're not firing up at all. Now if the gap is too wide or too large, you'll also have misfires as well. And what happens there is that the spark has too big of a gap to travel, and that therefore it weakens that spark, and it doesn't have enough power then to ignite the charge properly, and then that also causes other issues. So it's so important to get these things gapped to the proper spec. That way your engine will perform at peak performance. Now, a lot of times when you go to the store and you pick up your spark plugs, they'll tell you, hey, these are pre-gapped. Please don't go off of that, because they're kind of ballparked gapped. They're not specific. So it's always good to get out a gapping tool, double check it, and tweak it accordingly. That way you get it exactly where it needs to be for your vehicle. Now, in the event that you have a car or truck where you can't find the specs on it, which is kind of hard these days with the internet and everything else. But let's say, for example, you don't. A good starting point is go ahead and gap them to 0.035. That's kind of a good mid-range starting point. And then from there, you can put them in, check the performance of your vehicle, and tweak them accordingly to either tighten them up or widen them up at that point. But that's a good starting gap if you can't find the specific gap for your vehicle. So let's go ahead now. Let's get the tools out, and I'll show you how to use each one of those tools, and we'll go ahead and do some gapping and show you how to do that, and then wrap this video up. The first one that we're going to do is this wire gapping tool. So we have the spark plug here, and let's say that the gap needs to be 0.045. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire, you're going to put it between the central electrode and the ground one, and you can see there it's way too tight. Now you want to be very careful when gapping so you don't damage the electrode, so you want to be gentle. So we're going to take this black part and we're going to slide it here right like that into the ground electrode, and then you're going to pull back on it while pulling it gently like that. You can see it opening up a little bit. You want to be very careful because these are not very strong, and you shouldn't really bend them more than a few times because then you run the risk of the integrity of them getting too weak and they can break. So we went ahead and we pulled that back. So let's go ahead and grab the point, you can see right there, 0.45. And now we'll slide this in. And there we go, perfect. Slides in and out. The gap is right on point. It's not too spread out and it's not tight. And you want to be careful that you're not rubbing too strong on that central electrode. So see there, it slides right in. You can see it. And let me get up close here. There it is. See right here. And it might be a little bit tight from that angle. Let me adjust it just a little bit. So we're going to put it back in there and just gently pull back on that, and that might be enough. Like I said, you don't want to overdo it because if you're bending it back and forth, you're going to wind up losing the integrity of it. So now let's go ahead and put that in. Perfect. Perfect right there. So if we show it here, you can see right there, right in between the central and the ground electrode. And you can see right there. So I pull it out right there. Perfect. So this one would be gapped to 0.045 perfectly. Now in the event that the electrode gap was too large, you would also use this black piece here. But what you would do is insert it this way, and then you're going to bend it, and you'll see it move. Bend it down like that, and you can see the gap closing, and you just want to go gradual, because like I said, you don't want to damage anything. And that's how you would use this wire type gapping tool. Now let's go ahead and get the coin type, and I'll show you how that one would work. Now using this coin type tool, we're going to also go with the 0.045. So if we look here, this one goes from 0.20, we get 0.30, here's 0.040, and here's 0.045. So 0.045 would be this right here, that line right in the middle. So with this one, the way that it's slotted, you'll slide it in between the electrodes this way and keep rotating it as it gets thicker. Let me get closer here. And then as you see there, it's getting tight, and it's getting tight right at about 0.040. So we need to widen it to get to that extra 0.045 mark. So to do it with this one, you have this little opening right here. And what you'll do is you'll take the ground electrode, slide it in like this, and then you can pull it back. I'll show it this way. Pull it away from it, and once again, very gentle. Just pull it just a little bit. And now let's slide it back in. See how that looks. So now, boom, right on point. We're right there on the 0.045 mark. And actually, you know what? Might be a little, it's going a little further. It's actually landing more at like a 0.04748 range. So we need to take it down a little bit, and we'll just use the flat end here and just gently push down on the electrode this way. And you can see it go down just a little bit. So let's go ahead, we'll slide it back in, bring it around, and there we are. Right there. So we're right on point with the 0.045. So that's how you would use it with this coin style gapping tool, for widening it and then also tightening the gap if need be. Now with this type here, the multi-ground electrodes on this spark plug here, these are said to always come pre-gapped, so there's nothing you can really do with them. For example, if you were to take this gapping tool and try to gap it, as you can see here, there's really nowhere to get that tool in between the ground electrodes and the central without doing some damage. So those are already pre-gapped at that point. You could try to gap them, but like I said, with that central electrode right there, anything you try to do, you're going to be scratching all over that, which could cause damage. So those are said to be pre-gapped, and if you have any questions with that, I would reach out to the either a professional mechanic that you might be dealing with or the manufacturer. Okay, well that pretty much wraps up this video on how to properly gap your spark plugs using these two different tools that we showcased in this video, the wire type gauge and the coin style. There are other ones out there as well that we didn't show, but these are the ones that I used. So I hope this video was informative for you. As we talked about, it's so important that you gap them properly. That way you get the best performance out of your vehicle's engine. So please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.